Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, shit. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back at full volume now. I was doing some voice acting earlier, so that was why my audio was a bit scuffed. But anyway, hi. Welcome. It is supposed to be Mapcrap after all, so I guess it makes sense that things would be a bit on the scuffed side. That all said, let's get into it. Let's get some work done. Obviously, Cosmonarchy launched yesterday. No real big announcements aside from that. Managed to get some pretty good work done overall. And yeah. We've got some very exciting stuff that have been put together. Veek has been working on kiting AI to get the AI in a micro-ready or micro-capable state anyway. And we're obviously dealing with some, niche edge cases. I say we, of course, I mean him exclusively. I simply offered feedback and concepts and did a bit of testing. Kian and Balethal were up late last night alongside us doing a lot of the testing as well. So pretty exciting to see where things have gone since then, because since yesterday, Veek has been working on it pretty much all day today, I think. So it's pretty exciting stuff, pretty interesting. So I'm really pumped to get that into the game, and we'll see where we go from there. Beyond that, well, I tie my hair back here so that I can be somewhat free of the heat, or at least slightly less affected by it. There was also some discussion after Fraud Monarch, whatever the fuck we're calling the Cosmonarchy game nights. Fraudmos, maybe, for Cosmos, I don't know. After that, there was some discussion about balance and design and figuring out how to make some of the stuff work in the way that we want it to. That should fix my lighting a bit. Yeah. So essentially, one of the things that I took away from the whole engagement was that I think it makes sense to go for models that work for individual races, but we also should analyze what works well. And I think even from a conceptual standpoint, before we even get the units themselves implemented, it's really compelling to look at the infantry builds or build order, tech path, tech progression for Terrans in Cosmonarchy. I think you can see that you naturally build a lot of units. You naturally get these production structures that are space conscious compared to vanilla. And, obviously they pump out units at relatively high speeds. You don't have a massive amount of restrictions from resources or whatever. And there's a lot of things that you can choose to spend gas on for specialists, like obviously anything from the covert ops with Eidolons and Savants. The Cloak Rewrite helped Eidolons feel a little bit more reasonable, particularly when nuking and stuff. And then obviously Apostles are kind of gas heavy, but when you throw them onto the field, they're massively impactful if you use them correctly. You have Shamans, which serve a different niche than Clerics. And Clerics are more for like single target healing almost, like or focused healing, especially now that they're not limited to one target at a time anymore. And then Shamans themselves are more for spread out AoE sustain. So you're almost building one of them if you're dealing with some high DPS units, and you're building the other if you're dealing with crowd control units, like a Gladius build or something. If with enough Shamans, you could actually survive some of those Gladius projectiles in that sense. And that would be one case where it's like very clear which one is superior, we'll say, or which one is better suited to that niche. So there's flexibility. And in some cases, against some compositions, you probably will want to branch out to some other branch, like Orbital or Armor or whatever. But also, the Tier 1 and Tier 2s of the other branches they work really well with some of the infantry stuff. So it's a combination of a single branch being really logical and intuitive with how it progresses, and having a lot of synergy with Tier 1, Tier 1.5, Tier 2, and eventually Tier 3. Even the conceptual stuff for the Tier 3 units feels really, really right with essentially unlocking the potential of the earlier elements of the infantry branch. But then you also get the opportunity to obviously mix and match from other branches. And it's that combination of intuitiveness and logical synergy that coexists within the branch itself. You combine that with the flexibility to merge with other branches and offer a really useful niche, particularly the supportive or specialist units. That, in my estimation, is probably one of the most important things about the overall experience of designing an RTS. Like that's a measure of success, basically. How intuitive is this branch unto itself? How intuitive is the tech progression and so on? And then how well does it flex and merge with other particular branches or other compositions, or maybe even allied compositions in certain cases if you're talking about team games. And I feel like the infantry branch of Terran is probably the best example of this, even though like two of the units for obviously the tier 3 units, they're not even implemented yet, but conceptually they fit so well because, you know, you get madcaps that are in some ways tier 2 Mavericks, but they don't have stims. They're more about standing their ground. So it's a different experience using them. And you still can benefit from kiting and stuff as long as you're like stutter stepping really well. And then you get Olympians later on, which are essentially like, in some ways, they actually benefit more from being on the front lines because they have the melee switch, where under certain circumstances, they'll just straight up deal more damage that way because it's chronal damage as opposed to impact. And then you get, obviously, the Autocrat, which kind of unlocks a lot of DPS no matter what is around it, assuming it's able to mark the target. So there's a ton of elements there that I think can work out really well, actually. And especially as we revise some more on-hit effects to be maybe a little bit more on the side of stacking and a little bit less on the side of, one and done. Like I'm thinking Magister Stellar Enforcement for Protoss that increases the range. That should probably be a progressive stack. Obviously, there are some crazy edge cases that might happen there, and we definitely need some reads for it in that case. But I do like the idea of the progressive stacks system, like for the Ecclesiast, for example, where I revised that to be an infinite stack. I would say the same is probably true for Pazuzus, where that could be a stacking debuff, where the more deconstruction stacks you have, the more damage you deal to yourself. And it would naturally cap at maybe 50 stacks or something really, really high, where you would actually be dealing full damage to yourself, obviously reduced by armor. I'm not exactly sure how the progression would look like, but even if it didn't cap, like whatever the case may be, that would probably be more interesting than simply a one and done tag, especially since these are ranged units we're talking about, and it's not like they're very short range either. They're fairly durable, so it's not it's relatively easy to just tag a unit and run away. And yeah, you're also able to cleanse stuff. These stacks wouldn't become timed as a result of these changes, but it would mitigate the amount of efficacy you get from simply tagging at once. I think I'd probably turn that system into something related to the Autocrat as well, where its projected passive is obviously to be like some of these other cases where it's just a one and done tag. Anyway, all that aside, the main thing I wanted to get across here is that I feel like the infantry branch is really, really solid from a conceptual standpoint. And it flexes really well with the other branches of Terran. It flexes really well with other races. And pretty much like anything that your ally is doing, you can probably support them through the infantry branch. Maybe that's fine for a branch to feel that way. But I think as a sort of design challenge myself, it would probably be suitable to look for ways to inject maybe a bit more in the term of supportive elements or utility elements or something to that effect, specialists perhaps, compared to just always having some sort of damage dealer or whatever. Like, if I consider the armor branch as a comparison, you've got mines from vultures, which can be quite useful, but there's something about them that feels a little bit less useful in Cosmonarchy. I'm not 100% sure about that. I think Cyclops are kind of interesting, but they do rely on that on-hit kill, or on-kill rather, passive, which probably shouldn't be the case. It's just that if I revise it to be on damage, then it becomes very similar to Dirge, which I probably don't want. So maybe Cyclops just end up getting a revision to their passive entirely, a new one perhaps, or being shuffled off, maybe even removed outright. Who knows? But then the Southpaw, I think, serves a niche. It's a very like scrappy, skirmishy type unit, where it is meant for harassment, and obviously has the fast firing but kind of low DPS. And the idea is that you're supposed to spam a bunch of them out. In that case, I would say maybe I need to lean a little bit more into that, drop their supply cost to 1, and send their maybe drop their gas cost completely similar to vultures, but keep their mineral cost higher than a vulture, and their time cost slightly higher as well. Maybe the same as vulture, who knows? Like, revise the unit so that it fits the bill of being a spammy type unit. Especially if Cyclops ended up getting booted, the question would become, as a factory player, or as an armor player, if I build a factory first, how do I respond to air threats? Well, Stealth Pods would probably need to no longer cost gas, or somehow be more accessible because they would be the AA for you, basically. So there's some problems with removing Cyclops as a concept, but I'm just sort of shadowboxing things, like explaining design flaws as I see them, exploring potential solutions. I do feel like, generally speaking, even tier 1 armor is not very useful compared to the tier 1 infantry. And maybe that's how it's supposed to be. Maybe tier 1 armor is actually meant to be like early power spike, and then you hit them with some additional units from tier 2 as like the meat, and that can be like an early victory push for you, but otherwise you scale out of them relatively quickly. It's just, I feel like there should probably be some utility still left there. And maybe a part of this is because you don't have unlimited selection, so you can't like order up like 50 vultures and then have them all place mines, not necessarily at the same time, but there might be some APM sync there where maybe that's an opportunity cost for the unit. Maybe it's because Southpaws are just too fragile and end up falling. I don't know. There could be a number of different issues with any of these approaches, but there's probably some way to shift the experience around a little bit so that armor and think specifically armor is most restricted by this in terms of how versatile they are at tier 1. Whereas tier 1 infantry, I mean, you can actually get shamans and clerics at tier 1. You can get pretty good healing. It's just it's going to cost you some gas. And then obviously it's also going to lock up your production for a short amount of time for actual combat units. But then even for combat units, you've got Mavericks, Hurricanes, Cyprians. You've got a solid trio of units. One of them, I mean, I think like Hurricanes deal full damage to buildings, but they deal concussive to units, and obviously Cyprians deal impact damage, but from a higher range than Mavericks, and they're a little bit more like a very veritable backline, I guess, a trustworthy backline. There's a lot there that I think can be extrapolated out towards how you would take fights with armor. And you don't have to take fights with armor the same way you take fights with infantry. I'm not arguing for parity in terms of how the playstyles end up manifesting. But I do think there's something about infantry that works out really well for progression, but also at each individual tier, you get some different elements that you can use. So I'm not 100% sure what needs to be moved around there, if anything. But, maybe it's nice to consider the opportunity to move some of the current units down to tier 2. I mean, from tier 2 to tier 1 for armor, and then add a couple more. I'm not sure. Terran does feel a bit more on the complete side compared to the other races, particularly Zerg. But once this upcoming Zerg overhaul is done, I think we'll be in pretty good shape. And then obviously Protoss, they're mainly lacking in robotics, but I think they're okay in general. A concern I have for Protoss is kind of similar to the concern I have for the other branches, or maybe specifically the armor branch for Terran. It's the fact that they generally don't have too many support units. I mean, there's a planned monogram, there's the Clarion that already is very useful, very powerful, and probably needs to be moved around a little bit in terms of its tier. Or maybe we just need to revise the behavior to be slightly less powerful. Maybe it only absorbs rather than absorbing 50% of damage, maybe it absorbs 25 or something, I don't know. I wouldn't want to neuter the ability, but I would definitely want to make the behavior a little bit more balanced than it currently is. And maybe the current version is actually fine. I haven't aggressively tested it, so just mostly shadowboxing, take that with a grain of salt. However, I think that there's a really strong argument to be made for the inclusion of additional utility support units, essentially. And I think the Ecclesiast is a nice rendition of what a support unit might be. Maybe they need slightly more attack speed so they can stack up faster. That was a change discussed recently. However, aside from that, I mean, what kind of support units do you really have? Robotics have vassals, which are combatants, but obviously have that element of support in when they die, they are giving stacks of attack speed and movement speed to nearby allies that are actually permanent, believe it or not. So that can obviously be quite powerful. But aside from that, I mean, you don't really have any support units in the entire branch, and that's kind of like a weird argument to make for a support unit anyway. The Clarion was originally in the robotics branch, but I wanted it to be less tethered to that particular branch, so I moved it to infrastructure so that it could be conceptualized as a little bit more utility, similar to Envoy or Witness or whatever, which they themselves are not massively interesting unit ideas, I don't think. Also, apologies for any background noise. I've got my window cracked because, of course, it's that time of year, and it wouldn't surprise me if there was some of that lawn mowing outside was, or leaf blowing, or whatever the fuck is going on there, was bleeding through on the mic. So apologies if that's happening. I guess the only real support unit that in the entire game for Protoss, besides Clarion, is the Didact. The Demiurge you can make an argument for. Mind Tyrant is a more offensive spellcaster. I would say the Cantavis is kind of similar, where it has that area denial element, which I actually really like for that particular unit concept. But it doesn't really feel like they have many enchanters. Like the Ecclesiast is like kind of an enchanter. The Charlatan promises to be a more disruptive than anything. What's up, Veek? But yeah, I don't really see any actual support units or enchanter units. Like the Clarion is probably the only one. And then you kind of make an argument for the Didact, but even that is more like it's mobility and disruption and enchantment because it has recall, stasis field, and Shroud of Adun. So I definitely think the gaps in Protoss are mostly related to the fact that I have these concepts for interesting units in terms of like frontal power. I don't have too many concepts in terms of like, there's not really too much at play for actual supporting an army or enchanting an army. The same way that Terrans have clerics and shamans for healing. They have apostles for some healing, some enchantment, like massive enchantment there. They've got Azazels and Seraphs. Seraphs are the offensive spellcaster. They can even drop nukes down. But Azazels, while Seraphs are more about like area denial and disenchantment for debuffing the enemy, the Azazel is more about enchanting you. Defensive matrix, armor buffs with Sublime Shepherd. That stuff. Even though we don't see those particular units used as often, they're not as ubiquitous to a lot of Terran armies. That particular approach is still like that exists a unit that can help you. Yeah, and then there's a bit more of a Protoss styled enchantment going on with the concept of something like the Autocrat, where it's enchanting you the same way the Magister enchants your army in that sense or whatever. And then obviously the Savant and to a lesser extent the Eidolon have an element there of like disruption in that sense. But yeah, I think the core flaw with the armor branch, but also with the Protoss, and not necessarily flaws, I'll restate that as again a gap. The gap in some of these areas is that they kind of have to branch out to other things for supportive elements. And for Protoss, it's actually really difficult to branch into supportive elements. I did make the argument like the Magister is like an enchanter in some way, but it's mostly it's more of a combatant than anything, I think. And that's not necessarily a flaw, but I do feel like Protoss lack that feeling of being able to sustain in the middle of a battle or enchant their ally. Like even Zerg have enchantment with Ensnaring Brood and Parasite to some extent, which is a very flexible behavior, can be used on enemies or on allies. But yeah, there's not a massive like. I do feel like there's a little bit of overlap for Protoss in general, where maybe there's like, for example, the Golem. I'm not 100% sure it has a massive combat role advantage or disparity between the Golem and the Amaranth, for example, or the Golem and any other melee unit. And maybe to that extent, like Zealots and Amaranths are kind of identical. One argument you can make is that Amaranths are kind of like a tier 2 Zealot, the same way the Madcap is a tier 2 Maverick. And that worked out massively for Terrans. It stands to reason it would work out here in this context. Balathal had some misgivings about Amaranths being too weak or too fragile, I guess, specifically. But maybe we resolve that with some slight movement speed buffs more than actual direct durability. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not necessarily talking about sweeping changes to anything besides the Zerg, which I already have documented the sweeping changes I intend. For the other two races, I'm not starting to, break out my fucking red pen and mark everything down and change everything. I'm just mostly thinking out loud about some of the concepts and some of the things that I would like to address from a more design-oriented perspective. Of course, anything that I make a change to from an infrastructural standpoint is obviously going to... let's just say it's going to result in some serious changes to the AI, and that will create some design overhead for me. But, it is what it is. Yeah, Amaranths also kind of feel like maybe their attack, they're balanced on a knife's edge. Not necessarily right now. Maybe they are a little bit too weak, but the Amaranth is kind of a difficult unit to balance because it's a bit more about those number values. Like if it attacks too fast, then it sustains too fast, then it runs away with it. It's kind of feast or famine. And the changes that Vika actually suggested, where I give it a flat percentage and then scale it up, is positive to make it less feast or famine. But that does also put a disproportionate amount of pressure on focusing them down, which in a way makes them not necessarily damage sinks, but somewhat APM sinks for your enemy, attention sinks in that sense. It's a little bit more of an abstract concept, but you can see where that would be potentially difficult to keep track of or keep up with. An AoE spell that gives allies lifesteal for shields for a short time. So you're basically saying, like, take the Amaranth behavior of Shield Steal and give it make it an AoE effect of some sort, an aura effect. I mean, I do like the idea of something to that effect, but I think I would probably play around with it in a little bit of a different manner, where I would allow like shields to, I would basically allow shields to regenerate by any means necessary for an extra like 100 shields, basically. So you just like by being in an aura around this unit, you would regenerate up to like 100 extra shields, and maybe those would degenerate when away from the units passively, or maybe they would stay. I'm not sure. But the idea would be that you could enchant your army with just additional shields that could then be, interacted with in different ways. And obviously that would mean that Amaranths could literally shield steal more max shields than they could normally have. That would be, I think that would be a. The problem there is that it basically just adds stats to units, which isn't necessarily massively interesting. But I do like the idea of playing around with it in different ways. I'm not sure about literally taking the Amaranth's passive and applying it to all nearby units, but I guess it could be possible as like a high-end enchantment unit for the purpose of like. I think I should probably be a little bit less reserved about taking a concept from a unit that's currently in there as an ability or a behavior or whatever, and then transposing it to another unit. Something that the Zerg taught me when I messed around with the concepts for the Convolutk as an example is, it's attack supply parasite. And right now, although this won't be true presumably in the next patch or whenever I do the Zerg overhaul, they're morphed from Matroleths, so you do have that connection of like, oh, well, Parasite is a spell on the Matroleth, so it being a Matral morph is kind of interesting in that sense, and it kind of makes sense that it would apply Parasite. That won't be true for very long. Like the Convolutk will just be a base unit that you build from a larva. So considering that, I'm not going to remove the Parasite element. I think that's an interesting aspect of the unit itself, but I understand where like my own misgivings are for the Convolutk itself, or for that concept itself, because I'm literally taking, like, saying, hey, here's this ability that requires APM to use, or this unit that has this passive that requires certain positioning to make happen. And instead of being able to really make that work, you are going to need, like now at tier 3, you just push this button, or you just have this unit and it has an aura passive or whatever. Like, the concern is that basically I'm allowing or outmoding past units. But at the same time, I don't think it's massively unreasonable or unrealistic, shall we say, for the concept to work. Because if you're having hundreds of units per race in an imaginary land where we don't have unit ID restrictions, and you have these concepts for scaling up, like maybe there should be a tier 3 or 4 Maverick type unit that has a stim pack, right? Like maybe there should be some element of passing the torch from one unit to another, or having a connected unit. Like the Convolutk is unlocked by the same structure that unlocks Matroleths, as an example, in my new vision of Zerg. So you still have that connection there, and it's about like subjugating enemies, reinforcing at the front lines, that sort of thing. That's kind of what both of those units are able to offer. And then I can sort of change up some balancing levers for the Convolutk if I think it's like crowding out the use of Parasite manually. And that can probably be okay. So I can see ways where it can work. It's just conceptually, it always felt like a no-go zone because of the potential issues that it would introduce. Yeah, the problem with overhealing and overshielding is that in Brood War it would take like 100 hooks or something for that, or maybe it's even double that. Ridiculous amount of programming would need and reverse engineering would need to be done before we can do that on the fly, because of the way that Brood War is programmed. So it's not as easy as we would like it to be, but it is something that I had long thought of as far as a concept. There were upgrades in the old versions of Hydra back when, it was called Hydra back when it had upgrades, that were going to increase the HP of a Hurakan, aka Firebat, back then, by 10. And then there was an upgrade for, I think, all robotic Protoss that was supposed to up the shields by 50 or something crazy. This was before we had too many robotic Protoss, though. I think this just would have increased. Maybe it would have been a percentage increase or something, but it was supposed to basically be like, here, you've got more shields on all units, including scribes, actually, including workers. I think shared behaviors or abilities or mechanics, I guess, more broadly speaking, because some of them might be an ability, some of them might be an aura, some of them might be a passive. The way that like Parasite is an ability for the Matroleth, but the Convolutk has it as an auto attack. Sharing that sort of mechanic, but having it be used in a different way, allows for the same thematic to exist, but support different playstyles. So the Matroleth is going to be even more useful than it currently is when we rework Infestation finally. I don't know if that'll even be in this engine. But the idea is that you can essentially take control of buildings using the Matroleth's, using a new attack that the Matroleth will have. Maybe this will even work on units, actually. But I'm not 100% sure how I would balance that out. I think I'll probably keep it to buildings. However, the idea is that even right now, they offer enchantment with Ensnaring Brood. They offer reinforcement with Parasite. And you can choose which one you want to opt into. So the Convolutk having Parasite on its auto attack actually allows you to build Matroleths, because again, in the new version, they're going to be unlocked by the same thing. In the current version, you need Matroleths to make Convolutks in the first place, so that's that. But the idea is the Convolutk actually facilitates you to use Matroleths specifically for, in the future, Infestation, right now, Ensnaring Brood, without relying on Parasite to begin with, because you have the Convolutk to handle the parasiting for you. Or you can skip the Convolutks. You can say, I already have enough Frontal Assault. I'm actually going to use Parasite from the Matroleth specifically so that we can make this stuff happen. And that, I think, is actually pretty interesting as a concept, because you're basically saying this unit that has a couple of different utilities, maybe I would normally only use one of them, but now I can use more than one of them or a different one of them that I would normally use because I have this shared mechanic that's applied to a different unit. So I don't know if it's in some mad way reverse engineering or working backwards from a broken situation where it's like, realistically speaking, you shouldn't feel like you need to recycle the concept for something else or share the concept with something else just so that you can make another concept that the unit has useful. Maybe that's just a symptom of the unit being overloaded or something. I don't know. But from where I'm standing right now, and again, maybe this changes later, it does feel like this concept would allow you to explore different things. Like, I'm imagining maybe a tier 4 Terran unit or something that actually is able to channel, as long as it has energy maybe, defensive matrix and an aura, which would be fucking insane, obviously. But basically it would channel defensive matrix to any unit, or maybe instead of being a draining energy while active thing, it would just like drain 20 energy per unit affected. And suddenly D-Matrix, which is an incredibly powerful single target defensive spell, becomes this AoE ability at a higher tier, and that's an expression of power that like previously was fucking not even thought of. It's kind of the same way that Irradiate from a Seraph is like area denial of a specific region, and then you upgrade that to an area denial of like an entire base worth or a natural like a mineral line's worth of space with a nuclear missile when that goes off, and it completely denies the area for even longer than the Seraph does actually. Like you can see where you're expressing the power of in the nuke's case, it's like you need positioning and planning and timing and your opponent to make some mistakes as well, usually, or have some oversights, in order to even have a chance to get the nuke off. Whereas the Seraph is a bit more point and click, does have a missile, is an area that you can avoid now, but it's a little bit more of a skill shot in that sense, right? So you can see where it's like, oh, well, actually, we have these elements where there's a bit more gameplay actually achieved there, and an expression of power, or an expression in this case of like of your tech tree power in certain other cases. So yeah, I think there's a pretty strong argument actually from the way that I've just laid it out there, and the way that we've sort of arrived at this location from a conceptual standpoint. There's a pretty strong argument for sharing some more mechanics. So then the question has to become like, theoretically, conceptually, what would be a bad example of shared mechanics? How would we lay out the criteria for it being good, so that we can avoid anything that would make it bad, anything that would be a bad execution, or even a bad concept of a shared behavior? I'm trying to think about like obviously it goes without saying you don't want to slap Stimpack on the Madcap in its current state. I think that the Madcap actually has a really interesting behavior currently, and I think it's tied to the unit's thematic very well. So I wouldn't actually want to remove the Cabarrus feeders, or I wouldn't want to add Stimpack to it currently. It would just like stack up a little too much, I think. But maybe we have a higher tier Shaman type unit that gives Stimpacks to all units in an area at like tier 3 bio, or maybe it's even like a mech unit or something crazy. Like maybe it's a tier 3 unit that comes out of the Iron Foundry. I could see it being a support unit that provides Stimpacks to all units, and you'd still incur the 10 HP loss, but it's an area effect, you know? Like, I think that could be really interesting utility. Like, wait to take the Stimpack mechanic and apply it to something else. Whereas just adding another Stimpack button to another unit, it's not very interesting, not very compelling. You've already done that. And maybe it would even make sense to have like Stimpack on the Olympian as a wild example, although I wouldn't necessarily think so. But one of the arguments that you can make for Stimpack on the Olympian actually is that it allows you to gap close more and then use its Chronal Fist, which is a hilarious fucking combination of words. Chronally fist them. The Titan's Fist. But I think that this unit probably has enough going on as it stands. Probably doesn't need stims. And then if you did want to give it stims, you would have this AoE Stimpack unit that gives anything stims. You can fucking stim vultures even. Fuck it. You can stim Phoboses. And then the question becomes like, do we rework stims to be a stackable effect, which gives a less of an individual, maybe cost less individual HP, like 5 HP instead of 10, gives maybe half of the current, shall we say, benefit, or even less. But obviously with sustain, you can stim like 10 times. You know, you can see where that goes. That could be maybe a runaway effect, however. So I don't know. That would actually maybe make Stimpack too powerful as like a tier 1 unit if you could like repeatedly sustain the unit. So maybe we would have to keep the HP cost, but I don't know. There's some things that obviously I think maybe that's better left on the cutting room floor. Anyway, I like where this conversation has led us. I think the idea of taking mechanics that are compelling in the early game and finding ways to reinvent them, or change how they're delivered, or change how they're interacted with, and make them less limited in that sense. That would be a nice way, I think, to change some stuff around. And I think it's a good inspiration for... It's a good inspiration for enchanting units and stuff like that, where like you take a unit like a stim, as the example that I just came up with, and you have a Stimpack that by default is just on a basic ubiquitous combat unit, and then you turn it into an AoE enchantment spell. It's like, oh, what the fuck? You could do that? Like, that's actually quite interesting, I think. So, not sure how we'll deploy that, but you know. So anyway, yeah, I've blabbed on for way longer than I initially intended to. The stream has gone on for 40 minutes, and at least 35 of that was me talking some shit about stuff. So That's what we call intense. Well, they are, Alexander, but the problem with reducing the benefit of stim but making it stackable without adjusting the HP cost is you only have 3 stims you can even do, and if you need 3 or more to get, or well, I guess 2 or more to get to the same stim pack effect that you had before, like, you know what I'm saying here? The concern I have is that stim pack currently has a place when you're not healing the Maverick. Like you can cast stim and get a benefit, but if you reduce that benefit massively, then it mandates clerics or some other kind of healing. And I mean, maybe this isn't really that big of a deal anyway. I guess you would always be getting healing and if you're going Mavericks, but it does directly nerf Mavericks without healing. I'm amazed that people still haven't become famous. It's crazy. How is Twitch still allowing that? You literally just have to block the text famous or want to become famous in the same text as a link. I mean, it's not even really a link, I guess, but pretty frustrating. It actually hasn't even showed up on Restream, apparently. Unless they just updated it so that when I block somebody on Restream, it removes the message. Who knows? That would be good software. I don't think that exists. Okay, anyway. I think we've blabbed on about this shit enough. This is supposed to be Mapcrap. I'm supposed to be making a map. Instead, I've just been fucking having a good time over here. I did want to update the Lyralisk. I was gonna prank people and pronounce this unit Lyralisk, even though it's 2 I's. So obviously it would be E. Maybe I still will say Lyralisk. It did disappear. Okay, that's actually really impressive. I color me impressed. Do I make these medium? Is the question. I think Hydras are medium, right? Yeah. Hydras are getting +1 base armor next patch, I'm pretty sure. Which is, I don't know if that's actually advisable or not. What's up, Mutas Dozen? Well, everything is changing, to be honest, so it doesn't, I don't think it'll make them ridiculously, like, I think if anything, they probably are a little bit underpowered, to be honest, in the current build, shall we say. But I've got a lot of changes planned. Yeah, I guess we will drop this one, or up that one to medium. I guess the Quasilisk will probably be a 1-space unit now, which might be ridiculous. What's the idea for today's Mapcrap? Well, my friend, I'm glad you asked, because let's just say, if you didn't ask, I probably would have sat here working on the mod of Cosmonarchy. Owned IMO. Oh, it didn't pull, probably. Oh. Now it pulled. I wonder why it's so slow today. Okay, so let's minimize all this shit. Make a folder. Oh, wait. I guess I'll make a 5 Mapcrap folder. All right, let's see here. So, the idea for today's Mapcrap is ideally it's a map that will help motivate me to see how the Zerg are faring with this new version, this new overall system that I've tried to develop for them conceptually, which will result in, like, obviously it'll rely on most of the development time going into the implementation of some new units, the complete overhaul of the AI scripts, and all that stuff. So I don't actually know how much time I'll even have to work on the map itself. But I was thinking, I think some people are working on melee maps for this Mapcrap, and we're just going to play them in this Cosmonarchy game state that we've got going on. But I also think I still want to make like an asymmetrical map. I don't necessarily want to make a melee map here. But I think scenarios have always been available for people to play on asymmetric maps and stuff, or maps with like team free-for-all stuff going on. Non-melee scenarios, basically, non-melee game modes. So these Mapcraps, like, if any of them end up being fairly fun to play, I'll probably throw them up onto the maps folder for the main release repo. We'll just roll with the punches, so to speak. So the question becomes, what do I want my map to be? How many players do I want on my map? And what kind of scale am I targeting here? I actually don't think it would take a massive amount of time for me to put together a reasonably sized map. But I should probably limit myself to 6 players. I definitely don't want 8 players. And I think 6 would probably be a good amount. And then obviously that leaves 2 observer slots for whoever may want to do that, and for me, so that I can watch the AI fight it out. So the question becomes, what are my teams? Do I want 2v2v2? Do I want 3v2v1 or something crazy? Do I want something a bit more chaotic than that? There is the idea that, like, Kian obviously had that free-for-all map on his side, where he made a free-for-all map that was like all Zerg, and then there was a Terran AI in the middle, which I thought was pretty neat. And when he resolved some issues with the mineral fields being hostile to the AI, the AI was actually quite menacing. You had to watch out for that. So, yeah, I think the question is, what do I want out of the experience of this map? What kind of tile set am I targeting? That's the first question. Do I do a space platform map? I might do a space platform map. It's a tie between space platform and ice right now in my head. Because I've got an astral map that I've been working on, and a desert map that I've been working on, and a jungle map that I've been working on that's admittedly a melee map. Badlands, I'd like to wait for the tile setup palette update from DF before I work on one of those. And Twilight, I guess, is fine. I wasn't even thinking about it. So I guess it's between those 3. Space platform, ice, or Twilight. Yeah, I think the last ice map I made was Balathal's birthday map, which was late last year, mid last year. Oh yeah, it would have been late last year because his birthday's in December. So, somewhat recently. Whereas the last space platform map, I can't even remember. All right. I think I've settled. I like the idea of throwing in some asteroids, or maybe this will even be like, again, this, remember when I said I'm targeting small scale, like, or not smaller scale, like not trying to be massive in terms of the map. I think I will make this map be mostly asteroid and have some installations of platform. So, you know, nothing crazy. I'm not saying much. I'm just going to manually place every tile on the map, guys. What's the big deal with that? Okay. Got my map. Okay, what is the name gonna be, bro? I was thinking of working in the word here into it. So initially I was thinking like here and now, and it would be a very subtle hint at Zerg here. But I just thought of, you know, that there's that line, in space, no one can hear you scream. And I just like the idea of calling the map Zerg here, you scream. Or maybe I'll call it something else, and the map description will say, in space, Zerg here, you scream. And it's just, and the map is just the player screaming Zerg here, and that would be the bit. So maybe the map title itself would be yeah, okay. We'll call it that. Okay. Here we go. It has begun. Oh yeah, I forgot we got space catwalk, dude. I can have like orbital space catwalk shit for a different look of that stuff. All right. So, I'm completely out of water, but I will lay down some initial work here. My vision is that for this, I want early action to be very incentivized. So I'm thinking the player might even end up being solo on this map. I think nearby to the player, there will be 2 AI. At least one of them hostile Zerg. And the encouragement will be use the Zerg, the new Zerg sort of tech path or whatever, to explore the freedom that this allows you, this offers you. And, you know, hopefully we find out that you can like put together some really good build orders and stuff. So I'm thinking the player will probably start somewhere in this area where it's like lower middle or whatever, right? I'm thinking so the player will start around here. There will be an AI situated around here, and another one situated around here, and those will be like the closest ones. Maybe I'll even move this down a little bit. So maybe we do player here. There'll be like a base, like an expansion here or whatever, and then AI here-ish, and AI here-ish. And that covers 3 out of our 6. And then we would have like up in the corner, I think there'd be like a twofer. So over here, this is like 1 and 2 on the same team. And then I'm wondering if maybe we don't... Yeah, maybe we move like... We move the right side player towards the bottom right of the map, And then we have like another play, the last player that I haven't placed yet over here. So that would be our initial work. So we have player 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's like the rough placement. I'll probably pull the 5 and 6 further south, and then have like an expansion that's like separating them or something. And then I think after that, obviously, like I can fill in a lot of these gaps and stuff. Because this is still the patch where AI can't properly navigate islands, which kind of sucks for the thematic of this map, where it's supposed to be a series of asteroids. I'll probably have some connections between the bases. I don't know how much custom terrain I'm going to have to make for that. Hopefully not too much. And I think like the mainland will have a decent number of connections between it, but there will be specific like bridges or ramps or whatever that will be designed to funnel ground paths. So you'll still have the encouragement for air or for transports, but because the AI is gimped and can't do that right now, there will still be a way to get armies, large armies, between the areas. It's just that you'll be funneled down specific lanes, I think. Like there will be maybe only one lane into player 5, orange, and one lane into brown, player 6. And that goes both ways, obviously. So if you isolate that, then you kind of block off their ground units. And these guys will probably be air, or at least one of them will probably be somewhat air focused anyway. And I imagine a lot of the AI, especially when they take enough bases, they always go for air eventually, given enough time. So there's a lot of value with that sort of thing. I think this is a good rough game plan. And I mean, this map size doesn't allow me for a massive number of expansions, but the kind of idea that I'm going for is that you want to eliminate at least one player that's close to you so that you can secure what we're going to be reserved for their third, if they even had one. So we're incentivizing a lot of conflict in the middle here. And then we kind of have this battle royale setup where these two who are currently, I'm thinking they'll be allied, but maybe they're even hostile to each other. Maybe this is a 6-way free-for-all. And the idea is that like whoever is successful in the top right is going to be a very ominous threat. And whoever's successful maybe between teal and purple is going to be an ominous threat, and then you and blue. But it could also go the other way, where you attack teal, purple attacks blue, teal attacks orange, brown attacks purple. Anything like that could also happen depending on the positioning. So I think if I get my positioning just right, then I should be good. Another thing I could do is obviously just expand the map if I feel like it's too limiting, and then reshuffle some things. I'm gonna gray box quote unquote everything. It's gonna look gray because this is space platform with just space platform terrain, like legit terrain. And then if I feel confident in the layout going forward, at that point that's when I'll start converting stuff over into asteroid terrain, because obviously that's a very time consuming element. I don't want to get too ahead of myself there. And then I think beyond that we'll have a good feeling for like how the map plays. I might even like do a gray box version of it with only platform tiles and actually have AI run tests on it or whatever. The question as well is like racial stuff. Like, what races do I want to be? Do I even want to mandate the player's race here because it's Mapcrap? I think I don't necessarily have to mandate the player's race, but I wouldn't mind mandating the AI races. I think like you could have Protoss v like Protoss as player 5, maybe Protoss as player 6 as well. I think blue would probably be Zerg and teal would probably be Terran, but I guess I could swap those over, and then I don't know what purple would be. I guess maybe at least one of these players ends up being like a complete wild card and randomly selects their race. I don't mind playing around with that expectation, but I think allowing the player to select their own race is probably a good thing. Even though I like for my playthrough of this map, when it comes time to do the actual playthrough, I will probably be focused. Like I'll probably be playing as Zerg, just for the sake of my own ability to test out how the new game flow is. But yeah, that is my decision, I think, and that's my very, very rough initial block out. So I'm going to continue the block out over time, but first I'm going to get some water and use the bathroom because I'm out of the water and my bladder is not happy with me. So I shall return momentarily. Hey, who you calling dead? Gotta adjust my camera positioning now. The classic. I think it's lunchtime, so I'm going to watch the AI punch each other. That's usually what I do to pass the time anyway. We got brown toss, orange zerg, white Terran. Oh wow, we actually have parity here. Toss on the same side even. Actually, they're all on the same side as each other. They're completely mirror imaged. That is true. You made any changes since the one that you posted in Modborn? We'll play on a slightly smaller map then. This guy got owned. He kited his own depot. Just a joke. Oh shit! The shield battery! That should probably be delayed, to be honest. There's no reason to build them that early. These guys all suck at building their town centers. I think we have a mirror build here for the Terrans. They both are getting 2 starports. This guy, paradoxically, was a bit faster with his first starport, but a bit slower on his second. Probably some issues with his workers getting their depot canceled. For some reason, the AI doesn't actually deduct the money until they... Well, they do deduct the money sometimes when they move to build it, and then other times they don't. I don't know why. It's pretty psychotic. I've also noticed that AI sometimes go into the negatives with money, which is hilarious to think about. We got Cenotaph from both players. A Tommyton. Couple Drakidons. Couple Drax. I like this build. Use more Droleths everywhere. But you know what? He's going to be able to hold on, so there's that. Own! Well. I don't know about that one. It looks like you deliberately made them worse against Simulacra, so... I see your plan. I see your plan, V. I expected this to happen with Drakidons, because you didn't actually wait for them to finish attacking, so... They have a longer attack animation than some other units. So. Spaz. Whatever that was. Do I even want to know what just happened? Yeah, these guys are gonna get owned. Why? Why are they moving away? There's no reason to. Yeah, they should be like they shouldn't even bother moving away unless they're actually being attacked. I don't know why they are. And they're also very bizarrely picking targets. What the fuck? What are these fire bats doing, dude? Ahmed! No, Ahmed is giving up. Yeah, it looks like there's still some serious problems, but something's happening. dynamic. Firebats, Harakans shouldn't even bother kiting back, I don't think. Maybe you can just disable the kiting behavior or even make them kite forward if the target is has more max range than them. I think you said you did that, but it doesn't appear to be happening. At least in the case of the Harakans. Look at all of these fucking cloned sims. There was a case where you actually could have kited, but... Owned. Ammo. Oh. I guess the problem with making it so that they only kite backwards when they're actually taking damage is because obviously you can abuse that just by walking towards a unit and then it won't kite backwards at all. So it probably should just only kite if the unit's not at max range, but that would probably be a good general rule. But if that's already what's been done, then I can almost guarantee you it's not working, judging by what I'm seeing. Like, these Zerglings would actually be doing more DPS if they just attacked instead of even moving. Although, in this specific example, it's obviously not going to matter that much. But. This Hierophant has spent most of this entire fight spinning instead of attacking. Starting to get some performance drops as well. That might be pathfinding more than anything. I think that one of the biggest issues is probably that the AI keeps changing targets a lot, so obviously against Sims that's really bad, but it's also devastating in normal engagements anyway, because you basically just have no focus. I'm really hitching now. I heard a mind control, but I don't know what it was on. Oh. I don't even know if they show status. Here we go. Are you ready to witness? Sorry, this poor colony's too scary. Might hurt me. What the fuck happened over here? We need a morph right about now. Hi guys. Now that is some VM. Literally using your base as a breeding ground. Bye. Oh fuck. Dude, this is actually working. Yeah, it's over. This man's just been executed. Oh, fuck. Use it against you. There we go. So in that case, that was actually very effective. It was pretty cool to see. Oh shit! Well, instant hallucination. Oh, storm my own units. Bye. What the fuck? Jesus Christ. As many as these guys are even still alive. Those were Veek storms, actually. So there's definitely a lot more going on with these micro rules, which I appreciate when spectating battles. I think the biggest concern or issue is that... Oh, I just crashed. It looked like it might have been on Maelstrom, but we'll find it. It's another one of those military AI array crashes. But I have no call stack, unfortunately. That's unfortunate. I guess it could be because I didn't restart my EXE. But I don't know. Well, anyway, hopefully that test was useful for Veek. It seems like especially units with longer wind-ups to their attack, their projectile firing or whatever, those are the units that suffer the most currently, so that would be like Hierophants and Draconans. I don't know what the code looks like, but I would hazard a guess that there's a missing check for whether or not the unit has actually fired. I will offer the player a very goofy expansion in the middle of the map. The kiting AI stuff is incredibly exciting. I can't wait for it to be fully operational. It's going to be a bangin', TBH. Can you imagine actually having competent AI? Because I couldn't yesterday, but then Veek did that. And now he's making it even better. This is still legal. Yeah. That's kind of what I was worried about. So for this base, I think I won't experiment massively or radically with the setup that we got going on here. This is kind of a concern that okay, maybe that's a bit more sane, I don't know. I just worry a little bit about not having any turret room, obviously, like, or maneuverability in general. Okay. Working on a space platform map where a lot of asteroids are present reminds me quite a bit of that Deliverance map that I worked on, map 4. I was very excited for some of those layouts. Maybe I'll whip them up at some point. Not for Mapcrap, obviously, because your map has to be completely OG, but something could work out. So Mutas doesn't. What have you been up to anyway? I don't even know if you're still in the chat, but I occasionally see you streaming when I'm visiting Twitch every now and then, but I haven't actually popped in a while. I don't think. Where you been? What you been doing? How's life? How are things? I see. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was just missing you or like missing the timing, or if there was something else going on. But that explains it. So you're getting your green thumb on then? Self-sustaining? Building your own supply depots? Wait, oh, there we go. I was out of alignment. Shit, yeah. That sounds awesome. I thought you were saying supper as in making your own supper, but yeah, I know. I get you. Pays to be able to be accountable for your own stuff in that way, I think. Also, probably a fun hobby, if I had to guess. satisfying to watch your stuff grow and be able to say, yeah, I did that. Yeah, a little bit here and there. I mean, I spent the last couple, maybe the last week especially, but the last few weeks grinding away, crunching away, one might even say, for the release of Cosmonarchy, the rebrand, getting out of beta, calling it what it is. It's no longer called Hydra. Clearly, I've got to flesh out my palette here. I don't know where the extended ones are. Presumably they're somewhere over here. Ah, here we go. Do those in a sec. I forget how I organize these in other tile sets, but I do it better. So let me find my shit here. Oh, yeah, I guess the lava would be a good case, right? Oh, here we go. Yeah, okay, so it's high platform, cliff, doodad. I guess we'll say 1. Glad they just randomly invert the order here. Good job, Blizzard. Wait, did they? No, maybe I'm just drunk. Never mind, Blizzard, carry on. Ah, here's where they inverted the order. I was reading ahead of the class. Unfortunate. So if we take this bad boy, pull it out like so. Oh, I guess we do this. That. And voila. It's good to get these blends done in this fashion, so I don't sit here and suffer quite so much. Okay, now we get to do these. So ramp. Easy. Now we do the same with this bad boy, and we're good to go. Okay, now I've done that detour. We're only going for function here, really, because again, the main takeaway will be dealt with via like this is all going to be transformed into unrelated tiles, so. Easy. Wonder if this isn't too low for an actual pathway. I guess I can do it right here. And just kind of stretch this one down. If we're going to do anything here anyway, we should do a bit of eating into this area. Flush this area out a bit. Because again, I'm trying to make this look organic rather than platformy. Oh. Now that's a next level idea. Not exactly the same thing, but I did have a concept for a unit that would allow all allies to hover, which would allow them to move over impassable terrain at a reduced speed. Which you can imagine is a very powerful idea. Not sure if that change actually even helps you, TBH. It's kind of a fucked no matter what situation there. There we go. I guess that'll work. All right, so obviously expansion in this high ground area, expansion back here, base and expansion over here for blue. He needs to be filled in the back anyway. I was thinking this could be an expansion, but it's probably safer to just have this be a pathway. Just leave that there as like a marking for me to remember later. These bases will not look very convincing until I replace all of the tiles. Goes to show you how important that part of it all is. To the surprise of nobody. So I'm definitely going to throw a base pretty close to here. My ultimate hope is that if this is like, say, a Terran AI, they drop an ion cannon around here and it tries to control, it like naturally holds these bridges, basically. Ugh. I'm also trying to make it a point to add more unit responses to the game in general. So I feel like that's an area where it's sorely lacking currently. We'll get there. Just need a bit of time. That should be a sufficient number of units or of resources. I was just thinking if you're Zerg in this spot, which obviously I was initially expecting to be the case, you actually would be pretty fucked out of an expansion that's like easy to take and hold. The closest one will be either this one over here to the left or the one that I'm going to place in the bottom. Really, the closest expansion is probably Blue's main, actually. Yeah. That's something I didn't really account for, I guess, when I was initially thinking that I was going to put one on the low ground, like where this ramp is, but that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to do, I think. And I'm trying to be like build space conscious, so everybody can have a decent amount of space to get things done. But that obviously comes with its own set of concerns. This area is kind of rough for small armies, but I think that's okay. Okay. So what's next? I think I'll finish this corner and then move on to Blue's base. Although Teal's base, I guess I could also do. We'll see where I go. Okay. Let's do it, boys. Let's crap this map. That's not what I wanted to do. Not what was intended whatsoever. Hey, Mutants does on. You might have some thoughts on this. I have been thinking about how Zerg are so different than all of the other races. I was going to say gimmicked, but I mean, it's pretty fundamental as far as the difference goes, so it might actually just be fine to say different. In that they rely on larvae. They need to build up the larva count. It's not very steady, right? Like, they need to build it up, but they also have to use it for units and supply and workers. The workers are so important because you use your workers to build structures, and you need them for mining, obviously. So the end result is, if you lose like 3 workers, you just lose the game in vanilla, like in Melee. So I was trying to figure out a way to make this system work without removing counterplay, I guess. And I think one of the things that might actually be, I'm thinking, walking it through my head right now, I wonder if a solution isn't to simply take the idea of larva and of drones being so, like, workers being so vital or whatever. What if we just, so initially I'm just dropping the train time of the drone to see if it's any better. But it's only 2.5 seconds faster, and it actually, in that sense, it would be asynchronous with the larva spawn rate, actually, which is a issue that was raised earlier, which I was already aware of, but I don't know how much that actually impacts the flow. But I guess what I could do is I could make it so that both larva spawn rate and the Droleth, and it's called Droleth in Cosmonarchy, the Droleth build time are set to the same thing. It's just you knock off 2.5 seconds. Then you kind of resolve the issue of needing to wait for larva and like needing to prioritize building extra larva so much. Yeah, well, decrease build time, but yeah, it's the same thing. You have to increase the spawn rate or lower the rate between. Just for early game flow, because otherwise you're probably doing nothing in the early. I mean, maybe in this game state, it actually doesn't matter as much because you start with 6 workers instead of 4, and you can do things pretty instantaneously. So you'd morph your first larva. Yeah, I don't know. Not 100% sure. Um, I forget how to rename files in Visual Studio. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I was also thinking about raising the HP of the Droleth, but I guess that's not very interesting or exciting or whatever. Like, I'm not as much of a fan of that. I don't know why I ever use this fucking program for. Great, thanks. So yeah, I guess we'll probably drop the larva timer to the same change. It'll be 10 seconds instead of 12 and a half, which is what it currently is. Yeah, it wouldn't really be that great, I don't think. What if I try to build now? Is it going to annihilate me? Clean and rebuild. Glad to know that, once again, we have no fucking control when we rename a file or rename a function in Visual Studio. It just sometimes doesn't rename the function. Great. Truly next level stuff. What a program, to be honest. Let's see what happens now. Okay. Now I'm guessing if I look for Hydra and I hit find all, we will find some goofiness. Ah, right here. I knew I had to fix this. I forgot to do this earlier. Oh, this is called old morph, specifically because it's old. Whatever. I'll still update the enum usage, but I wonder why this is even in the project. Oh, this is backup. Okay. Thought I saved this. I guess not. I don't even know why this is still in here. We could probably just delete this file. Cool. You have a vague, or I guess you... Oh, okay, cool. Find in files. Hydra. I'll look into the SCBW folder. All right, now I've done my renaming. Cops are coming. So we have 10 times 0.42. Oh, it's 10 divided by 0.042 divided by 8 gives us roughly 30. I actually don't remember what the exact percentages are meant to be. Everything says 200, so I guess I have to look in game. So it's 250, 150, 200. Okay. So 2.5 to 1.5. This could be switched to a case ID, I think, but whatever. Okay, so that's done. Oh yeah, and then we have to do this. Okay. So I was also thinking that larvae are probably way too tanky, considering what they are. And with them being a little bit easier to build, it might be warranted to drop their stuff a bit. So I was thinking, for example, like right now they only have... Oh, actually, I didn't change anything. I changed stuff about the egg, but not the larva. What is this supposed to be? Cathrostalor and Anticathon. For some reason, it's not showing. But wait, doesn't it show if I go here? No, I guess not. Wonder why. Articles. Is this like misspelled? Oh, that's misspelled. And that's Kesthrol. Stellar, yeah, okay. So it's just misspelled. That's easy enough to fix. Larva. So, Cathrostalor. And Anticathon doesn't have a second H. But yeah, I was thinking we probably drop the armor, at least by half. We can see what happens there. Let's discard that change. Adjust, remove references to old project name. Okay, should be able to close that now. Remember when I was supposed to work on this map? It's pretty funny. I wonder if sticking 2 here wouldn't be super inadvisable. I think one of them will be here, and then there'll be another one for that guy over there. So let's adjust these. Okay. Did that fuck up the depots? No. Okay. Let's smash this one in then. So I think this blue player, since they have another base right here, will probably start it with only one gas on their main, because it's most likely going to be a Zerg anyway. It makes sense, I think. Can flesh this area out a bit. We'll throw a bridge here between 2 platforms. 2 asteroids. Fuck. Getting owned, as per usual. Where's Chalks to say owned in a deep voice in my ear when I need him? The fuck, dude? He's got to tell me I've been owned. Owned. Yeah, I guess we can just do that one, TBH. Wow. That's impressive. There we go. Found it. Okay. I actually wonder what the connective tissue will be like for Blue's base. I guess his expansion will be along this ledge or ridge, because this it has to feed into his base, and there's got to be a connective platform for Purple. Well, it doesn't have to be, but I would expect there to be. So, I'm going to use the bathroom again, so BRB one more time, and when I come back, we'll do the final push on... I'll try to connect Blue to Purple, get some more bases. Maybe I'll even be able to place mains and surrounding expansions for the first 4 players here, and that would be a pretty strong start, I think, for just a couple hours, maybe really only an hour of development, considering everything else that I did today on stream. BRB. Oh, let's go back to work, homies, because I'm back. I like where this is going. This is a goofy fucking... goofy area, okay? For goofy people. So I expect a number of you in the chat to partake in this area. Because it's for you. Did you know that? Did you that? I actually forget which junk placeholder asset I used for this. Oh, I remember now. It's this. Wait, no, it wasn't. What the fuck? Oh, no, it wasn't that. I used a... It was just... Yeah, whatever. I don't remember what it was, but I'll replace it later. At some indeterminate later date. So I'd like this to not only be connective tissue for blue to purple and blue to the middle, but also blue/purple to the bottom right area where there's a base planned. And I didn't mean to say that like a question. Just was overloading my brain with a few different attempts of something. Yeah, I think we just raise that over there. Push that one back. Push it out. Oh, interesting idea there. Maybe we can make some very windy small pathways scattered throughout. Good luck. Uncle Mods, hello. Welcome. A fitting name for what we're doing. I guess it doesn't matter too much if there's a terrain block. We're shifting all this stuff over later anyway. Oh, I guess this would be the sticking point, wouldn't it? That's fine, though. We'll futz around with that later on. The problem is figuring out how we're going to do this, but I think we do it something like that. There we go. This we'll have to make a custom tile for later on. I'm pretty sure anything that exists currently as a block is something I don't have a tile for, so. For things like... Oh, I guess that's not going to work that way, is it? There we go. Now I think we have room. Again, just have to swap that over for now. All right, let's try our hand at oh yeah, I did want to do that too. Okay, now can we slap these in here? I wonder actually how this map would play out with just the 4 out of the, like, not including the other guys, basically. So I was thinking of giving these guys a single gas in their main because they have a pretty close proximity to a double gas expo, and it's somewhat defensible. So I don't know if that's enough minerals, or maybe even too much. My main concern, as per usual, is finding a way to make the gas defensible. So I think we'll probably just drop it kind of flatly right about there. I don't remember if I have already stabilized the... I go to units. I don't remember if I stabilized the collision of all of the gas structures. So if we see here 60, 60, 30, 30. Yeah, it looks like I did. Yeah. That's good. I think I'll probably stick an expansion back here as well. I know I want a low mineral double gas over in this area. What's up, Razdy? Welcome. You know I'm mapping, homie. Mapping and crapping. Now this could be an epic expansion. Do I have room for a third? Maybe there. What a ridiculous idea, but I kind of like it, to be honest. There we go. It's in. Done. I'll add one more mineral field, though. Feel bad for anybody who comes in here expecting to be able to make any money. Right there is probably fine. Wait, does that fuck the... Oh yeah, it does. Holy shit. Never mind. There we go. So, like I was saying, probably an expansion hugging this right wall over here, and that will be fought over. I guess both of those expos would be fought over by purple and blue. And you have red, who's a bit more interested in consolidating his position. He's got the back expos with 2 gases. I kind of want purple to have like a mega base in terms of the resources at their disposal, like ridiculous number of like 20 mineral fields or something ridiculous, and then at least 2 gas, and then give you like maybe teal will have 2 gas and more reasonable mineral counts, but an actual expansion to take naturally. We had the idea of putting one up against this wall, which I think makes sense. Flesh this out a bit more. We take some high platform as the placeholder. Hey, I said high platform. For anyone joining us after I started this map, the key idea here is I'm going to be replacing all of the terrain that you see currently with asteroid terrain, which I already have, but it's just very time consuming to place it manually, so for the time being, I'm just blocking it out with placeholder stuff. So we'll do the gases over there. So yeah, this map will eventually look significantly different than what it currently does. Will be quite the scene. Something really compelling about the whole asteroid thing for me anyway is I've always had a fantasy of actually seeing that in an RTS as like a battlefield on the asteroids. Let's move this further out, I guess, and then that one back. I guess we have to do it like this, actually. Oh, no, we want it like that. All right, that's doable. Not a very large map. Still doable, but... Fill that in later. Oh, maybe we actually do a bit more aggressively over here instead. I would definitely want to break up that outline. There we go. And then we can have just some high platform. Beautiful. You got a nice little position to use elevation-wise. Okay. I don't want to intrude too much on the build space, but I feel like something needs to fill some of this negative space. Even if it's just blocking a bit of pathing here and there. I think if we just fill in purple, fill in teal, and then add the base over here in the bottom right, and then obviously connect teal and purple in this right strip. I think we have ourselves a very early draft. BH. Let's move that down a bit. Whoa! Look at this man walking in here with his U-on straight. How you doing, dude? Welcome to the party. Well, you managed to wake up record time for you, I think. I really forget what tile I used for that. Whatever. I am not a very big fan of, like... I don't know how to describe them other than calling them yippy. But I guess yappy also works. The dogs that have very shrill tones to their barks. High-pitched shit. Pretty infuriating, IMO. I would like to somehow have a genetically engineered dog that's very small but barks like a fucking lion or something, like just enormously loud. I guess lions probably don't bark, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean? I have to make this slightly less weird, I think, but only slightly. They just kill you. What if it was really deep and like loud? I like that though. It's comical from the source. You know what I mean? Somebody is outside my window with a fucking leaf blower, lawnmower, chainsaw, weed whacker. I don't know what the fuck's going on out there. So I can only assume that that is currently pranking people. For which I say, you got pranked. Okay. Yeah, I do prefer. I have probably a medium-sized dog, I guess. He's not massive. So you're telling me you have a car? One sec. I shut the window, but I somehow doubt that that will prevent it from bleeding out entirely. Leverage some of that negative space right there. That one sounds like an airplane. Where do they get these fucking lawnmowers, dude? Or whatever is going on out there. Yeah, dude, it's the start of Mapcrap, bro. The restart. Maybe I can use some of this negative space to my advantage, actually. Nah, never mind. It'll be fine. Very incomplete layout, but I think we know what we're doing here. I guess a concern is that there is a massive amount of negative space over here, but not enough to do anything with that would be like massively interesting, I don't think. There you go. I'm going to go for a walk later myself, so I sure hope the rain doesn't start migrating my way. I expect it probably won't, but never know. Never know what to be afraid of these days. Oh, you know what? I'll move this over here. And we'll just slap that one there. Yeah, East Coast. New York. Except not really, I'm in Boston. I actually don't know why I said New York. That's pretty puzzling. Even I cannot tell you why. Maybe I just wanted to make fun of the accent. I'm working here. Ah, well, hopefully when I take my walk, it's not doing it. That's all I'll say. Okay. What if we do something a bit more like this? Accent does not exist? What do you mean? You telling me that in New York, there's some people who don't say, there's nobody, rather, who does say, I'm working here. What are you doing? That is true, Viker. All right, maybe they don't say, I'm working here, but maybe they say, I'm talking here. I'm talking here in this accent. What are you doing? That's probably what they say, if I did guess. I'm not really a massive fan about how those stick out there. Water. I'd like some water, please. Water. Wait, so roller skates, you mean that if I just walked up to you and said, and you would not understand me? I think you would know every word I just said. I'm pretty sure you would, you'd have every idea. There we go. We got some accents in. Get you a water and a big cheeseburger. I can't do that particular accent. No, I know what it is, but I don't remember what the fuck, like, how to do it. Unfortunately, maybe I never knew in the first place. I kind of can do the mafia accent, right? I can do like the, I don't know what happened. He fell. I can do that one. That's about it, though. Boyga. I can do that one. What's up, Azzy Dazzy, dude? Talk about an accent. An accent. Hey, Azzy Dazzy, you want a boyga? I can get you a boyga. Bonobos hiding vowels in words, yeah. That's pretty good, though. I like that. I want a boyga. Wait, Azzy Dazzy, are you Raz D? Because there's Az and Raz. I don't know who's who anymore. Maybe I'm you. Wow, there's no maybe about that. You've migrated to the holy hall of Twitch.tv. I don't know about that one. Dude, let's get some crafted minerals over here, okay, boys? Let's get some ridiculous mineral fields at play here. I still need 3 more, fittingly. You see, this motherfucker is gonna have money for days. They should get a depleted geyser with this base. Just one. That would be a good meme. Start out with fucking unrelenting amounts of minerals. The minerals just start being created and like they respawn like deeper. As you mine them, they split like simulacra. And then it's over. Yeah, bro. Yeah, whatever. Wait, do I even need to do anything else? I think I can just test with this, probably. I have to set up the triggers real quick. Then we can see what's popping in this map. Let me go to my shit. You know, the map folder called my shit. Here we go. I guess I should actually open the standard version of this map for the triggers. Yeah. Oh, wait. I need to make a location. There we go. Oh. Oh boy. The kiting? I did do a quick game of it, but I can do a game on a updated version. What the fuck is going on here? Oh. Wow. Okay, this is different than I thought it would. Yeah. I usually don't do it this way. Okay. Now, we're not going to have this many players, so we can get rid of these. We can get rid of alliances, since they're all unallied. Say... keep that, actually. Boom. This map might not be the best for testing out the kiting AI, just on the basis of it being so cramped and only 4 out of 6 players are even able to play the game right now. But it will still be pretty fun, so whatever. Where's Force 3? Okay. All right, we'll get rid of those. Sure. Now in the player slots, I'm going to set these to neutral. And then these guys will be computer. Zerg, Terran, Protoss. And, oh, I guess we'll say user select for these guys, actually. So they'll all be random. All right, I think that's everything I need. Hey, Viker, have you updated this project by any chance? This kiting micro, have you been busy with your... I imagine you've probably been busy, actually, with your map. So let's do this. And... Yep. All right, boys. An error occurred while trying to create the game. Probably means... Oh, I don't have start location. That would be a problem. I guess I'll throw one there. I'm trying to think of like the AI bases that probably need a bit of help with here we go. Oh, yeah, everybody's in the same force. I'll fix that too. We got okay. Hell yeah. Let's go. All right. I'm excited to see this AI smash. Oh, we got Zerg. Oh, I failed to achieve victory. Owned! All right, I won't be seeing anything yet. Hold on. The classic victory trigger. Let's try that one again. I'm excited to see the defeat screen. Yeah, can we go for 3 pranks? Is that possible? No, I guess not. Oh shit, a Protoss got that. This time it's Terran instead of Zerg. We got Zerg there. Only one Zerg. Okay, 2 Toss. They should be all unallied with each other. Ava left doing some scouting. See where these guys go. What they do. Interesting starting build here. Okay. Bit of a late depot. I'll count that as a win. Yeah, I was asking you if you had made any other changes, but I assume you did not yet. This guy's being a bad boy, and he's supposed to be saving up for a fast expo, which is why this scribe is doing nothing. Because Lard can program. But he's not saving it up for it, so this build is probably just garbage and I have to update it at some point. Okay, bio. At least a Rax opener. It's kind of standard, actually. Yeah, okay. That's the one that I have. An interesting first expansion strategy here, instead of the safer ones. We'll see if that bold move pans out for him, considering his opponent has a second gate already on the way. This guy's still not built up enough for an expansion? Is that even what he's doing? Yeah. He got this expansion request a long time ago. Weirdo. Yeah, I figured you were map crapping. No worries. This build does not have the larva or drolith changes just yet. Oh, I can already tell you that the AI is going to do very dumb things with their base layout. Ah! There you go. Ah! Spend all my money! Owned. Doesn't have any money now. What a guy. Oh shit! Triple gas! The triple threat. Another larval colony. Got hydras. Expo. No! 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 Bad! Bad dog! What an idiot. That's not what you do. You're not supposed to do that. Moron. We should try to fix that at some point. Jesus. I actually was very tempted to U-kill, but I can't play God with the AI if they're idiots because of their own doing. I mean, at least he'll have better mineral efficiency. There's a trade-off, you know. Yeah, that is his flag, all right. Flag on the play. Football style. There you go. It looks perfect until you realize this is going to happen. Okay. Zealots. Hi. Don't mind me. Can 2 Hydras defeat 6 Zealots? Oh, 7 Zealots? Oh, and an Ecclesiast? Oh! Fear my dance moves. Owned. Well, that was a better experience than before. Oh, run away! Oh, he should have ran farther away. Nice kiting, I don't know. Definitely did not have the advantage there, so should not have been kiting into it. Did you S32 when you should have U32'd or vice versa? What happened there? Veek me, homie. Give me a explanation for that one. Oh, 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 oh. There we go. I don't know what these guys are doing. Owned question mark? Why? Why are they dancing? They're a bunch of goobers. So much DPS lost. Oh, fuck. What's this guy even got? Oh, he's got hydras. Fine. He's less fine by the minute, though. Now he's probably somewhat supply blocked. Going for a third. This guy just allowing his base to die. Fine. We got a sunken colony expertly placed. Ah, out of money, moron. Try again next time. Oh, there we go. Hi. Yeah, the Zealot actually just would have... He would have still had shields if he just hit that. Get him. Bully him. So we're still testing out some new kiting logic, as you may have noticed. Oh, fuck. Unfortunately, all of these units are still bugged, all the Protoss ones. So the attack animation stuff didn't get resolved by the looks of it. This guy is dead, though, I think. I mean, he has a scrapyard, but... He's gonna have a real tough time clearing out that. That's for sure. I do like when they kite forward aggressively, though. That's a nice improvement. It's definitely a little weird, though, that they have like these certain cases where they don't have much. They lose out on quite a bit of DPS. Oh fuck! Did you see that spin? Yeah, like the Panoptis missed out on like 2 attacks there, I think. That's another one. There we go. This is a case where it would be nice if we could somehow make them focus workers if they can't be retaliated against, because obviously they're dealing with fucking zealots that are just occupying time. But that's a separate... Oh shit, dude, he's actually ignoring the threat here to target down zealots. That's a bug. I guess it's because they have less HP or something. Pretty whack. Alright, well, I guess every player is technically still alive, but I guess if that purple attack hits these guys, they're almost certainly fucked. Alright, we got some hatches. I like the looks of that. Could use some more workers over here. A couple larval colonies to reinforce this base as well. Very solid. Holy shit, dude, this guy's got a lot of Hydras. I would actually be the most scared of this Zerg player, I think, at least in the short term. Obviously, the tech tree progression for the toss is a bit scarier, particularly this blue guy who's got 3 gases over here, even though he's not mining massively yet. Takes a while to build up enough for those. Some strafing behavior from the air units, which is pretty neat. Interesting double science facility and placing it in the most ridiculous area possible. Owned. How will you ever fight back? Well, I guess he might need it after all. So many lost attacks. Guy sure is taking his sweet time to commence this attack. Holy fucking Droleth, baby. Yes! Blue's trying to steal that base. Well, I guess it's not really stolen. He did get it fair and square by now. Oh shit, here we go! Zerg here!
Is that a fucking crow?
Moiler, Meyer, Weber, Schmidt. What a fucking name. Good luck. There's some spinning happening. This is disastrous. What a mess. Oh no! All the Hydras have become hallucinated. Well, that was a very brutal defeat. And got choked. Meanwhile. Completely owned. Oh, he didn't even attack that thing. Yeah, there's a lot of lost DPS. Specifically on short-range units, it seems. Zerg Zico is out of this world. Yeah, dude, he can throw away that number of Hydras pretty regularly, actually. I like how he's only gone Hydra too. Like, oh, he's getting Bactylisks. Oh shit. I will say, if he gets Bactylisks, it's probably over. Those things are fucking monsters, especially with kiting. Even if the kiting itself isn't massively effective. Like, the longer the range, the better the kiting generally is. So, if he starts spamming out Backless, it's fucking over, dude. But, the question is, will he be able to? Meanwhile, air units have started to pop out. We love free-for-alls here. They're trying to expand, but they can't, so, a bunch of idle workers. Here we go. Hello? I think the static defense is trying to kite. What the fuck? Something was happening that I've never experienced before. Oh man, they're bullying the Zerg, dude. Come on, I wanted to see a million Bactylisks. They were also still trying to kite the defense, so they were spinning on it instead of doing something like attacking. That's pretty disastrous for obvious reasons. Well, say goodnight, Stukov. And by Stukov, I mean Zerg. Instantly double spawning pool. I mean, he still has a lot of econ, so if they only take this base, it'll suck for it, the fact that he loses his tech. But, like, I wouldn't put it past him to somehow come back from that. Especially if they start fighting amongst themselves. The Terran, on the other hand, doesn't appear to have any money, so he's definitely fucked. Yeah, it is. It's any bounce attack is called Lead Organelle currently, at least for Zerg. He's Nidusing to try to reinforce faster. We have mixed Protoss forces here, so they'll start fighting amongst themselves shortly. As soon as they stop kiting themselves into oblivion. Oh shit! Stasis field? I mean, disruption field? Air stasis. Maybe. Oh shit! 12 stewards! I think Solarians might be completely fucked. I'm not seeing them attack at all. I'm seeing very occasional target selection from them when they should be attacking all the time. Maybe need to make exceptions for them or something. It would be really cool to have like specific kinds of fighting. Oh, now they're attacking. Oh fuck! No! If only he would stop building fucking workers when he's literally dying. Oh, they're finally killing his tech. Oh, he rebuilt it over here. Dude, this man thinks ahead. I like how they've just been in his base for like at least 5 minutes, maybe longer. Oh shit, stasis! Owned. Oh fuck! Reinforcements! More Zerg here! What a mess. Oh, Solarian is retreating. Oh, the stewards are being targeted and attacked. That's really funny. Yeah, those Solarians are just fucked. Is there any way you can fix the behavior with Hierophants and Dracodons where they like flip out because they have long animation? Or longer animation? That seems to be the biggest concern I am with, well, it's that and it's also melee units are really fucked up. I guess those are the biggest weak points, and then there are like some outlier cases like Solarians. Alright, so this base is finally fallen. He's gonna need to rebuild his tech. I guess that's possible, but it doesn't seem likely. It depends on where this force goes after they finally tear everything down. Oh shit, he actually has a base over here. I didn't even remember that. Not only does he have a base, but he's actually been building production at it. This base is fucking ugly to look at, too. The elite task force. No, not the didact! Oh shit! I'll take my main back, thank you very much. Oh fuck! Oh shit! Alright, bye. Well, never mind. This air toss has hunted the Zerg to extinction. Very sad. We almost saw epic. Fuck those depots. Yeah, hopefully you can make them target units that are actually threatening. Because right now they're focusing melee units instead of the Atreus that's shooting at them. Although, admittedly, the Atreus is only occasionally shooting at them, so whatever. I assume you omit units that they can't see, like burrowed units and cloaked units. Owned. Oh, I guess I should fly and follow target the Exemplar torpedo, because otherwise they just miss embarrassingly, especially with coding active. Does LAN effect disruption field still not do anything right now? That should definitely be fixed before the next proper patch. These guys have some fucking units. Look at these men. Okay. Pariah could be attacking a bunch of different things right now, but it's spinning instead. Oh, stasis. Owned! double stasis, in fact. Hug them out! Hug them all. If you manage Didax correctly, you could actually keep them permanently cloaked since you would just never attack. I guess you would have to cast spells eventually. No, it looks like it's favoring ground toss right now. He admittedly does have more bases. Oh, okay, that was reasonable. They prioritized the right thing there. They killed the Simulacrum instead of the Dracodon, you know. Not known for dealing a lot of damage. Are you still exempting land effects from kiting AI while they have disruption field active? I wasn't sure. I mean, they shouldn't even have enabled it there because they actually would have disabled more of their own units. Fuck that pylon. He pretended to be disabled, I guess. What is going on here? I think maybe your advantage calculations are kind of broken. I don't know if you've already made adjustments to that specific thing. I'm assuming the next attack will put this guy to bed. Let's see. It's a fuck ton of corrections. Oh yeah, Signify should reveal Cloak. Similar to Ensnare and so on. They do seem to have prejudice against Simulacra. What a bunch of goofballs. Oh, a lot of fucking Kabbalists. Oh, that's pretty neat. Yeah, I believe this is over, homies. I guess for Disruption Field, we need to find whatever function actually detects Disruption Field units. Even if we don't need, we might not need to hook it, but we need to figure out like what function actually does the disabling of the unit's attack. There's probably some obvious thing. Maybe I could just nudge Voyager about that and see what he says. These guys really like Didax, dude. Why? Why? Why have you done this? Even this fucking Kabbalist is confused. Hi. Utterly destroyed. I guess static defense were trying to kite earlier or something. They're very scared of this photon. I guess you should ignore units that are disabled. I don't know if you already do that. Is frozen function or whatever. There you go, Blue reigns supreme. Well, they're trying to kite against something, I think, because they're spazzing. Yeah, they just absolutely refuse to attack this. Why?
Transmit coordinates.
I can attack it just fine, so...
Standing back.
Okay. Wild. All right. Well, that was something. We got to see how the kiting AI goes about the map. Also, we got to see what the preference for expansions was and stuff. It does seem odd that blue's natural would be preferred by this guy, but I guess it's technically correct because he's probably technically closer to it than that. I don't think that's something I'll be able to resolve necessarily, but an AI won't normally be playing in this spot. That's just for my own testing. This will be the player's spot. So instead, we'll have something else going on there later. All right, well, it was a pretty interesting day, pretty epic day of work, of concept stuff, of Mapcrap. I'm going to take a break, take a walk. When I come back, off stream, of course, I'll be working on some more Hydra, wow, misspoke. Cosmonarchy concepts, concept archy. So if you're not already a part of our Discord server, you can check that out using the Twitch panels or the Discord command exclamation point Discord or the description on YouTube. We talk about the project over there. That's where most of the real-time development happens. So you might catch us talking about there. You might be able to give us your input or whatever when I'm not streaming. Otherwise, just stay tuned. Same time tomorrow, most likely. I think I'll be back on for another stream. So yeah. Oh, actually, wait. Tomorrow I might not be streaming at all. We'll see. Again, join the Discord for real-time updates. All right. I'll leave it there. Bye.